Picture this for a second. It is 2 a.m.,
Right. The rest of the city is completely silent.
totally dead.
Yeah.
But in one room, illuminated just by that, that harsh blue glow of a laptop screen, there's a founder who is wide awake.
Yeah.
And they're just staring at a spreadsheet. They're making a structural decision that is going to dictate whether their company actually survives the next 5 years.
And right now, in that moment, there's absolutely no audience for that.
None. They're operating in these rooms that nobody invited them to.
Yeah.
Solving problems that literally nobody else is solving.
Are they making choices that even their own team doesn't fully understand yet?
And the market certainly hasn't rewarded them for it.
No, not at all. And that solitary struggle, that 2 a.m. reality, it is completely invisible to the outside world.
Which is exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. We are looking at this new initiative. It's a project called Build Forward, Field Notes from Africa's Founders.
Yeah, spearheaded by Ekerete, Lord-kris, and Xpress Digital Co.
Right. And it's essentially trying to drag those invisible 2 a.m. moments out into the light because there is this profound structural problem we have to talk about.
Yeah, the stakes are incredibly high. We have to ask, what happens to an entire continent's economic future when its most important builders are forced to operate in just absolute silence?
I mean, it's not even just that they happen to be quiet. It's that the ecosystem is actively incentivizing that silence.
Exactly.
If you're listening to this right now as a founder, you know this intimately. You are part of this massive generation of builders across the African continent, and you're operating inside these unbelievably demanding conditions.
We are talking about severe economic infrastructure gaps.
Right, and just stark, brutal realities about capital access.
Oh, absolutely. And we can't ignore the psychological landscape either.
The weight of it.
Yeah, the specific internal cost of maintaining your conviction when you're building in a market that has historically confirmed that people who look like you or, build from where you build with the capital you have.
That they just do not succeed at this scale.
Right. And we aren't saying this to complain. This is just precise, unflinching documentation of the crucible.
Exactly. But here is the pivot, and this is what's so incredible. These are the conditions inside which this generation is choosing to build anyway.
They looked at all of those gaps, all that friction, and decided to just close the gap themselves.
It's an economic and civilizational event. It's not just mere inspiration for a LinkedIn post.
No, the founders building right now, the ones we are talking to today, they're writing the next version of one of the most consequential economies in human history.
But the window for this generation to define what that actually looks like is closing. Which brings us to the sharpest turn in this whole analysis.
The documentation crisis.
Yeah, because Africa's founder story is being written in real time, right now, but it is going almost entirely unrecorded.
It's a massive gap. The real gritty, unpolished work of building a company in these markets, right now that lives almost entirely in fleeting WhatsApp threads.
Yes.
Good.
Or like internal pitch decks that just get updated and overwritten.
Exactly. It does not live in any permanent searchable record. And that has highly specific structural consequences. Investors simply cannot back what they cannot find.
And it creates this trap that you see all the time in venture capital. A founder gets introduced at some tech conference by a really simple one-liner.
One-liner, yeah.
Right. Someone gets on stage and says, oh, they're building the X for Y.
Which just completely flattens reality.
It's such a trap. That one-liner completely ignores the sheer gravity of what that founder has actually survived just to get that product to market.
It's like a theater production. When you go to a pitch competition, all you see is the polished stage play.
The actors are smiling. The lighting is perfect.
Exactly. The script is totally seamless. That's the one-liner. But the actual survival of the company, that happens backstage, in the dark.
Where it's just total chaos.
Right. The stagehands are literally holding the set together with duct tape. Things are constantly on the verge of collapsing. But the market only rewards the onstage performance.
So the backstage reality stays hidden. But the cruelest consequence of this silence, and Bill Forward calls this out so clearly, is that it warps the entire market's perception.
Yeah, it creates a completely perverse incentive structure.
Because of this visibility gap, you often have less capable founders securing all the features, the press, the partnerships.
Yeah, they might not have the most resilient business model, but they know how to control a narrative.
They mastered the onstage performance. And that leaves the real builders, ones doing the agonizing work at 2 a.m., wondering why they're constantly being overlooked.
And this is a massive red flag for the whole ecosystem. Because if the real builders are silent, what stories are actually shaping the perception of African startups?
It's just the extremes. It's the unicorns.
Right, the massive exits. The headlines about $50 million funding rounds.
Which, sure, they're great for a quick burst of inspiration.
But they are terrible teachers. You cannot learn how to build a resilient supply chain in Lagos or Nairobi from a headline about a massive exit.
No. The real education lives in the middle.
Yes, the middle. It's the years of building before the headline ever hits. It's the painful decisions and the pivots that never got any press.
It's the process of surviving a market that rarely forgives even a small mistake.
And this is where the lack of documentation shifts from just being, a personal branding problem to a severe structural crisis for the continent.
Because without that documentation, without institutional memory, you just get this endless punishing cycle of repeated mistakes.
It's tragic, honestly.
Think about the reality of this.
Yeah.
Right now, there is a founder who is exactly 1 year behind you in their journey. And next month, they're going to make a devastatingly costly mistake.
Yeah, maybe they choose the wrong payment gateway or they misunderstand a really specific local regulatory hurdle.
But you already made that exact mistake. You faced the fallout, you survived it, and you solved it 2 years ago.
But because your hard-earned wisdom lives only in your memory, because it was never documented, it evaporates.
So that founder behind you has to pay the exact same painful tuition that you did.
They lose 6 months of runway, thousands of dollars, all to figure out a problem that was already solved.
And when you multiply that unnecessary drag across thousands of startups in an emerging market, it's staggering.
It slows down the velocity of the entire continent.
Okay, let's unpack this from a practical standpoint, though, because I can hear a founder listening to this right now thinking, fine, my digital footprint is shallow. I have a documentation problem, so I'll just hire a PR firm.
Right, throw some money at a publicist.
Exactly. I'll get them to write up some glowing articles about our resilience, place them in a few tech blogs, and problem solved. Why doesn't that work?
Because PR is fundamentally designed to manage perception. It is designed to make a company look flawless. It's about smoothing over the cracks and hiding those 2 a.m. moments where everything almost broke. Build Forward explicitly rejects that approach. They draw a very hard line between brand polish and the unpolished truth.
Because if you publish a PR piece that says, we seamlessly transitioned to a new market, the founder a year behind you learns absolutely nothing.
Worse, it actively harms them. When they inevitably hit friction in their own expansion, they think they are failing. They don't realize they are just experiencing the normal realities of building.
They need the blueprint of the failure. They need to know that your first 3 market expansion attempts completely failed.
That your primary distribution partner went bankrupt overnight.
Yes, or that your team had to manually reconcile accounts on a whiteboard for 3 weeks just to survive.
The ecosystem only learns from an honest account.
Right, and that's where the archive comes in. Build Forward is positioned as an act of institutional memory. It's designed to document founders who are building in that messy middle.
Before the exit, before the headline, while the lessons are still fresh.
And they have a very specific way of doing this. Most business interviews, they follow a really predictable surface-level format.
A host reads your bio, asks you about your morning routine.
Right, what's your vision for the future? And then the audio file just disappears down a feed a week later. It's just content for content's sake.
But Build Forward is built entirely differently. They use a highly structured format that is designed to extract meaning, not just information.
Yes, the 5 acts. Looking closely at this framework, it shows just how methodical this is. It's not a chat, it's a scientific excavation.
Yeah.
Act 1 is the origin. They don't start with the product, they start with the person before the business.
Because you have to know who built this. The specific context of the founder informs their risk tolerance, their hiring decisions, everything. You cannot separate the business from the lived experience of the builder.
Right, which sets up Act 2, the field. This is the deep dive into what is actually being built.
And not the shiny Series A pitch deck version.
No, the improvised duct tape systems currently holding the whole operation together.
Which naturally leads to Act 3, the fire.
Oh, this is the core of it.
Yeah, these are the crucible moments, the near-death experiences for the company. This forces the founder to articulate the exact challenges that forged their current thinking.
It isolates those specific transferable lessons for the person a year behind.
Exactly. And then Act 4 is the lens. I love the way the source material describes this. It's Perspective earned purely through consequence.
It's not theoretical MBA knowledge.
No, it's the wisdom you only get by touching the stove and getting severely burned. It's realizing your hypothesis about customer behavior was totally wrong, and the market punished you for it.
And finally, Act 5 is the forward. After surviving the fire, where is this actually going? What is the unvarnished signal you were sending to the ecosystem?
It is demanding. That level of excavation takes a toll on the founder, but the return on investment is massive.
Well, just the preparation process alone forces a level of narrative clarity that founders usually pay high-end strategists thousands of dollars to uncover.
Yeah, they are forced to finally synthesize their own messy journey into a powerful truth. And they walk away with a permanent, definitive audio and video record.
Plus, the insights are transformed into written, long-form essays published on specialized founder networks like NRR-TV.
Right, which creates a highly searchable, structured record, and it's distributed across Xpress Digital's network of over 7,000 trusted ecosystem members.
It anchors your digital footprint in authority, not in PR spin. So 6 months from now, when an investor is researching you, they don't find a one-liner.
And they find a comprehensive map of how you survive under pressure.
But given how intense this is, they obviously can't do this for everyone.
No.
The filter for who gets access to this is actually incredibly strict. They were looking specifically for early and growth stage founders who are deep in it right now.
The story has to still be alive. The wounds might still be healing.
Right. And there's a critical requirement they call African ambition.
Yeah, this archive is not for foreign copycat models that are just pasted onto the continent in hopes of a quick exit.
Yeah, the solutions have to emerge from Africa's specific realities. The founder has to be navigating inconsistent infrastructure or localized regulatory hurdles and be willing to document that friction honestly.
And because of that depth, they cap it at only 4 founders per quarter.
Which sounds so small. For a continent-wide crisis, 4 a quarter feels like a drop in the bucket.
It does, but it comes down to the difference between a precision instrument and a content machine. To achieve this level of documentation, you have to do deep pre-session research, structured prep, high-end audio and video production, written essays. That imposes a hard physical limit.
It's totally free for the founder. It's not sponsored content, but it is highly selective.
And that window is closing. For Q3 2025, there are only 2 spots left, and the Q4 waitlist is already forming.
Which brings us to the most intimate part of this whole initiative. The mandate of Ekerete Lord-kris himself.
Yeah, speaking on his behalf, not just as the founding partner of Xpress Digital Co., but as a builder who has been actively paying attention.
Right, he isn't positioning himself as a podcaster. He is an archivist.
He's had these off-the-record conversations with founders doing extraordinary things in the shadows for years. And he realized that the window to capture these stories is fleeting.
His role is to ask the highly structured questions, guide the excavation, and then just get out of the way.
The founders are the record. He is just the one ensuring it gets written down.
Because the ultimate stakes here are existential. The story of African entrepreneurship is going to be formally archived eventually.
It's an inevitability. 10, 20 years from now, there will be documentaries.
There will be business school case studies about how this specific generation built the continent's modern economic infrastructure.
Right. The only question is, who will be in it?
Who controls the narrative? If the real builders operating at 2 a.m. today do not step into the light and document their unpolished reality, that history will be written by outsiders.
Or by the tiny fraction of founders who just happen to secure a highly publicized exit.
And if that happens, the true, complex reality of what it actually took to build this future will be lost forever.
Documenting the messy middle isn't about ego. It is an act of service.
Yes, it ensures that the heavy tuition you paid in mistakes isn't lost to time. It becomes the foundation for the builders coming next.
It proves that the severe conditions we build in aren't excuses for failure, but the context of a generational triumph.
So if you are listening to this right now, if you are that founder, I want you to think about the middle you are navigating today.
The improvised systems you are frantically holding together.
The fires you are fighting that absolutely no one else sees. The brutal lessons you are learning the hard way.
Yeah.
If an archivist showed up at your door tomorrow to document your truth, not the polished PR version, but the real 2 a.m. jagged ice reality, what transferable insight would you leave behind for the person a year behind you?
Because out there in the dark, somebody is desperately waiting for the map you are drawing right now.
It's time to put it on the record.